Okay, let's get this show on the road. Thank you so much for joining us for the monthly ramp up presented to you by Franchise Ramp. My name is Nick Hansen, Director of Creative at Franchise Ramp, and I'm super excited for the latest edition of this webinar series that includes a mix of in the trenches knowledge and high level strategy, along with a featured interview with the franchisee. Today we have Pure Bar Austin Lakeway and Rumble, or soon to be Rumble, Austin franchisee Jennifer Sweet, and our awesome franchisee success manager, Cy Anderson, will conduct that interview. We're going to start today with a tactical tool session with Franchise Ramp account manager, Brandon Dixon. Thank you so much for attending today. The monthly ramp up's goal is to give you a coherent picture of what's happening at the intersection of marketing and franchising. We want this to be a tight-knit community for franchisees to share knowledge and gain insight. Our mission at Franchise Ramp is to help franchisees realize their entrepreneurial dreams. We were tired of working with digital marketing agencies who didn't understand franchising or sales in general. So we took matters in our own hands, became Facebook experts, and added other digital marketing experts to our team. We are the new standard in franchise digital marketing and help clients obtain more quantity and higher quality leads. Please come back and join us again next month. And now it's time to get into the tactical tools session with account manager Brandon Dixon. Take it away, Brandon.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to check in and see what we have going on today. So today I wanted to talk to you about an issue that I think comes up with a lot of business owners, and that is organic reach, especially with Facebook. Once they entered the ad realm, it seems that our organic reach plummeted. There's a number that circled around that with your Facebook pages, really only about 5% of the people that follow your page are seeing every single post every single day. So pretty small number. So today we're going to talk about some strategies to be able to boost that organic reach and be able to get more faces in front of your posts. A couple of keywords I just wanted to go over before I really get into the presentation. So throughout the next couple of slides, I'm going to be talking about engagement. Anytime I say that, it's going to relate to people sharing your posts, people liking it, commenting on it, as well as actually clicking your profile to see your full page. I'm also going to be talking about reach, so how many people actually saw the post. This is something Facebook calculates, so it's not necessarily that they spent any time on it, but that it did hit their screen. Now, why is it important? So having a successful Facebook page with organic reach, it helps establish credibility on your end so that when people see your page, they can begin to trust you and know when they walk into your location that you are the experts in this field, and then build a customer audience as well. With that, you get to build a positive community, which leaves you opportunities for engagement. They really all coincide together. You can't have one without the other two. So being able to have a successful page with successful reach will really allow you to see a whole different side to your business. So I first want to talk about just insights. So this is a huge part whenever you're talking about how successful your organic reach is, understanding how many people you're actually getting that post in front of, understanding what posts are working, where are they coming from. I do want to take a second here. So for anyone that wants to know where this is at, I do recommend you look at this on a desktop or a computer or laptop, just because it'll be a lot easier to navigate. But once you're actually on your Facebook page, if you go over to the left, there'll be an option that says Insights. And then from there, you have a variety of different options of information that you can see. If you do want to do it on your phone, it's a little bit trickier. Once you're on your Facebook page, up at the top, there should be a little scroll section of a bunch of different options. You have to click more all the way to the right and then click Insights from there. Again, I do recommend you do it on a desktop just because it's a lot easier. But looking at the insights here, so on the left is really the first page you're going to see once you do click the Insights tab. It's really just the overall what your page is looking like. So you have actions on page. Right now, it might say insufficient data. That depends on how big your page is. If Facebook feels like not enough engagement, or when they say actions, again, this really just results in anything. So likes, shares, comments, profile clicks. Some people might be able to save the post, anything like that. If they don't feel there's enough there, Facebook won't record it. You have your page views, page likes, your post reach, again, just how many people are seeing it, your story reach, recommendations, post engagement, your actual responsiveness in your videos. So cool thing is it actually tells you what your average is in terms of if you're meeting it or if you're above or below it in percentages. So for this example, you can see responsiveness is under or dropped by 14%. And the way it calculates that average, it does it by month. So it's not by week, it'll do it by whatever your previous month was. On the right, it's just a little more of a specific breakdown. So a quick chart to where you can see your specific reactions, comments, shares, and it actually gives you nice little color codes. When you're actually in there, you can hover over those lines, and it'll tell you exactly how many likes, how many shares, and how many comments you had. And this is a fun part. So understanding which posts actually work and where to find that. So on the left-hand side, while you're in your insights, if you actually scroll down, there's an option that says post. You can go ahead and click on that, and that will lead you to the screen on the left. So here you actually see everything that you've posted. This is just the past couple of weeks, but you can continue to scroll down and see basically everything you posted since the page started. So in the middle section, you see your reach. So again, just how many people actually saw the video or the picture. And then on the right, it'll tell you the engagement. So this was cropped out, but at the top, it actually color codes that the blue is the comments and shares, while the red was the likes. So again, just giving you an idea of what has worked, which will really help with strategizing and understanding what to post in the future, which we'll talk about in a later slide. And then on the right is actually a really cool function that Facebook has is you can actually add pages and be able to track their posts. So for example, you have that Sweetwater County, they had some type of raffle post, and then you saw that for engagement, which you see at the top there says reactions, comments, and shares, they had 30 of those. Now, Facebook isn't going to break it down as much in terms of how many people did it reach or maybe how many likes or clicks, just because I don't think they want to give you that much information on your competitors. But it is nice to at least see which posts are working for competitors and now giving you an idea of what you can recreate. So top 5 improvement tips for getting more organic reach. Number 1, create a consistent schedule for posting. So I always recommend that you should post at least 3 times a week, whether it's on the news feed, stories. If you can do more than that, the more the better. But at least having some type of consistent schedule will be able to help not only manage it, but also your community will be on the lookout for these type of updates. So one popular example is a motivational Monday. Let's say you do that every 8 a.m. On a Monday. Now they understand they're looking for that. And maybe something that, since it has that consistent schedule, there's going to be more comments, more engagement, just because it's every single week and people know that it's coming. Number 2, respond as quickly as possible. So a lot of times we'll send out a post, maybe we're talking about the class that we had today, and someone will comment, great, I'll be there at the next one. Even though it's a super positive comment and it's super simple, we still want to engage with that person. The reason why is because when Facebook sees that a comment is just there and no one has ever responded to it, they're not going to feel that the page is active in the community. So even if you were just to respond, hey, great, can't wait to see you there, that's still telling the Facebook algorithm they're willing to respond to their customers. So let's try and push them to more people. And then also a benefit is just the quicker the better. I think that's a key part of marketing in general, where whether it's organic or paid, the faster that you can respond to something, the more effective it's going to be. Number 3, using relevant hashtags. So I will say hashtags have declined in effectiveness ever since Facebook has really taken over the ads market, but it is still something that people use to discover and a way to keep your posts relevant. So there's 2 ways to really go about creating or knowing what hashtags you want to use on your post. First is just using relevant topics. So let's say yoga studios, hashtag yoga, obviously a huge one, but other topics that relate to that. If you do have time, you can also search competitors and just look and see, what hashtags are they using. You can use that function where you see other people's posts. Is it effective? Also, any communication you have with clients, if there's something that's coming up on a frequent basis and it's a key word that you can throw into a hashtag, I can almost promise that any word you can think of, there's a hashtag for it. So just, again, making sure it's always relevant to your brand. And then these last two are, I would say, going to be, even though they're 4 and 5, they're definitely 1 and 2 in terms of new features to improve your organic reach. So number 4, utilize Facebook Live. For those of you that have done live before or haven't and want to get into it, just quick disclaimer, your first few times, not a lot of people are going to be on to watch. Facebook Live is really effective when you're consistent with it. So I would say if you could do it once a week, so let's say Wednesday at noon is going to be your time to go live for 20 minutes. You really want to keep up with that, because even though the first 3 weeks, you might get 5 to 10 people on it, after a month and a half, you're going to start seeing that progression. And now Facebook, since one, you're consistent with it, you're engaging with the community, they're going to feel more likely to push that to people that might not know your brand. And then number 5 is what I would say is the number 1 best feature that everyone should be involved in right now, is creating a Facebook group. Now, I know a lot of owners have a Facebook group for only their members, which is awesome. Still build that community. But I'm talking about one for people that have no idea who you are. A great way to get it started is the people that are in that members group, add them to the group and say, hey, invite all your family and friends or anyone else that you feel would be interested in our brand, or maybe this type of fitness or whatever else that you might have go on. For anyone that actually watches TV with commercials, Facebook has started running ads promoting Facebook groups. So anytime Facebook is willing to put their money where their mouth is, I can definitely say that it's a function that you should be utilizing. Now, with live and group, the biggest question is, okay, what do I post? What do I put in there? A great one, and also relevant to the hashtags, is what are your clients talking to you about? What are they asking you? Maybe it's nutrition. Maybe they need help with a certain form. Anytime a client asks you a question, I can promise you there's going to be 5 other ones that have the same question and just haven't asked it. So those are always hot topics that you can put into a group, put into the Facebook Live. And one thing I also want to really push out there is that these groups and lives, they don't have to be just your brand. So let's take Cycle Bar to the right here. They don't have to be just about cycling. If you have a nutrition tip or a fitness tip or anything, maybe just a motivation update, those are things that you can put into a group. Really, you want that authentic feel. You want people to feel like they're in a community, so that when they walk in through your doors, they don't really feel new. They feel like they've already been accepted. They've already talked with people in the community, both trainers and other members. You really want them to feel at home before they even have to walk through your doors. So I would definitely say utilize Facebook Live, create a Facebook group. Those are going to be huge moving forward, and not just organic reach, but even marketing as well. Because like I said, if Facebook's willing to put money into promoting a product, then we should definitely be using it. Now, what works best? So this is going to be more so with posting, but one, posting customer wins. Again, just establishing that community. A random person sees your page, sees the post, and they see a customer win, they're going to think, oh, that's awesome. That's a real person that's getting real results. Responding to questions and comments, like I said earlier, the quicker the better. You want to engage as much as you can with your community, using hashtags, making sure that they're just relevant with your brand. Also showcasing the studio and the classes that you have. People want to see what it's actually going to be like walking into your location. The corporate images are great and they're super clean and they're beautifully made, but they want to know what your location is about. You know, pictures outside, where is it at? Maybe there's a landmark that people can relate to. As you can see there, it doesn't even have to be anything professionally shot. As long as you have a phone with a decent camera, you can showcase what your studio is all about, and people will absolutely love it because they have that authentic community feel. And number 5, giving away free information. So it's a really hot marketing technique to give before you ask for anything. So again, giving away nutrition tips, technique tips, motivational tips, maybe it's how to sleep better. There's a multitude of things that all kind of encompass, especially fitness and beauty brands, that you can use and be able to give away for people to feel like they're part of the community before you ask them to sign up for a membership or sign up for your product. So conclusion, at the end of the day, the point of all this is to get leads. We want people in the door, we want memberships, and this is a free source of that. Yeah, it's going to require some work, some consistency, but anything free nowadays is not going to be easy. But this is something that takes 5-10 minutes, put a post out, and then maybe another 20 minutes to be able to engage with people later on in the day. Again, post at least 3 times a week. This can be stories, news feed. If you can do more than that, awesome. The more you can post, the more chances you have for a post to really skyrocket and take off and get a lot of organic reach. Number 3, response. This is up 3 times in this slide or a slideshow presentation because it's that important. You want that community. You want people to feel like they're being heard, that it's a real person they're talking to, and then use insights. Game planning for posts is probably the hardest piece of organic posting, but understanding what has worked in the past, what competitors are doing, will be able to map out a game plan for you so that you can just focus on recreating an image or a video rather than starting from scratch. And with that, back to you, Nick.
Brandon, thank you so much. That was amazing and so many awesome tips in there. I know that we have an in-depth resource guide on how to build a Facebook group that we're going to send out in the follow-up email as well. And definitely message us in the chat or the Q&A function here if you have any questions for Brandon, and we will get to those at the end. And now I would like to introduce our franchisee success manager, Cy Anderson. Take it away, Cy.
Thank you so much, Nick, and thanks for everyone for joining us today. I would like to take a moment to introduce our speaker for the day, Miss Jennifer Sweet, owner of a Pure Barre in the Austin, Texas area, Lakeway. Before we dive in, I would like to take a quick moment just to thank you so much, Jen, for joining us and sharing your insights. I have to say that I was thrilled to secure you as a speaker. Not only because you're super charismatic, but also because your story is so interesting and just filled with a lot of valuable takeaways for our current and also future franchisees. So with that being said, if you could start by just kind of introducing yourself and letting us know your previous work experience and your background pre-franchising.
Absolutely. So I have an interesting story for sure. I was originally supposed to be a school teacher. I did not go that route, obviously. When you graduate college during a recession, you learn to be scrappy. I actually, in college, started working in tech, and I gravitated toward digital marketing, social media, that type of stuff. And it stuck. It was what was, working at the time. It was what people needed. So worked for several different types of companies, startups, more established companies, software companies, and digital agencies in, a very, different ways, but a lot of it centered back around helping small business owners to figure out the digital landscape and to figure out marketing. And so it was during that time that I became a Pure Barre client. And I, in the past, I had been, I was a preschool teacher. I had been a fitness instructor, dance teacher, Zoom instructor, all the things. And it was through becoming a client that I became a Pure Barre teacher as well. And so I started teaching at a studio in Houston, Texas for several years before we moved out to the Lakeway area. And got the opportunity to purchase the studio that I now own back in 2017. That has kind of led me to here at Franchise Ramp. where many of you on here probably know me as, working in the franchisee sales department. A lot of us have probably already had conversations, but it's all of my kind of past experience in marketing and then, owning a Pure Barre studio have led me to this point where I can, kind of talk to and counsel and work with franchisees as they either start their franchising journey and go into pre-sale, or, they've bounced around to different vendors. So that's me, and that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah, I always think that's so interesting, even from the first time I learned that from you. So yes, spoiler, not only are you our speaker for today, but you're also a colleague of mine as well. So it
Started as a client, though.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Got to remember your roots, right? So you've already shared with us kind of your love of Pure Barre and how that got you down that path. Now tell us more about the actual franchise path that you started coming off of.
Absolutely. So definitely I didn't go into this thinking I was going to become a franchisee. It was that wasn't the mindset at the time. That wasn't kind of Pure Barre. Like there wasn't kind of that, franchisee sales marketing mindset. There were different times, it was different leadership. And I approached it 100% as I'm buying myself an additional job and it's going to pay off. And that can work. And for some, it absolutely has worked, but I can tell you that, the grass is definitely greener when you change your mindset, but did not get into this to, become a franchisee, as I'm sure many of you did. But it was really just a huge love and passion, for the brand and bringing it to the community and, to get, real sappy. It changed my life and I wanted other people to, experience that. And that was the impetus for everything. And, I figured out I had learn a whole lot along the way, but definitely did not come into this, thinking I was going to be a franchisee. But I have worked really hard to change that thought process and that mindset over time.
That's great. And I know that's probably something a lot of us can identify with, tweaking your perspective and your mindset so that you can achieve those successes. You actually have a really unique perspective of taking over an existing studio. You didn't have to go through all those struggles of like contractor delays and pre-sale member counts, but I'm sure there were a lot of other challenges that you didn't anticipate.
Yeah. So, to be, very transparent, I did not buy the studio for as much as it would cost for somebody to open up a new location. But like you said, it comes with a ton of challenges. What we thought we were getting was a cash flow positive business. And this was exhibited in numbers and P&Ls. We didn't just jump into this. We did our due diligence. We're not that crazy. We were given all this information. We were told certain things like, oh, well, you'll be able to eliminate this expense, or, oh, this won't be an issue anymore because you have a fully trained staff. So I'm thinking I'm getting to just kind of step in to this cash flow positive business with the staff and just kind of, make some changes and tweaks and improve the experience and, breathe some life into the place. By the time that the deal actually closed, it went from a cash flow positive business with a full staff to literally not even grossing enough revenue to pay the rent every month. It was very drastic. A lot of the staff members were kind of resistant to change. There were some issues with staffing, kind of just general turnover that was bad timing. And on top of that, I basically had what was the equivalent of like 8 lifestyle members. So 8 12-month recurring members. So the opposite of what we're told as used to have, predictable recurring revenue. And so, I didn't have a strong, everyone I worked with at the original Pure Barre corporate that I was with was wonderful. They were great people. They were very smart, but there wasn't a sales and marketing culture. And I didn't have that support. So I jumped in saying, well, oh my goodness, this is bad. I have to make things better right away. What I eventually found out was that we were literally the worst performing location in the entire system. And I thought maybe it was just like the last month, the last 2 months. I said, oh, those were tough months. It's the summer. It's tough being a, fitness owner in the summer. The trailing 12 months, we were also dead last. So This had been, kind of festering for some time. And you know, there is nowhere to go but up, but sometimes people don't go up. And so it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears personally, kind of almost living at the studio. I didn't really see my family, you know, much during those early months. And it was me doing what I thought made sense, but not to the same degree and extent that, you know, you need to do it to be successful. And, you know, a lot of it just wasn't really given to us as resources. And you know, I was operating with the limited resources that I had. So that first year, we grew, it sounds a lot more impressive than it probably is, but you know, we grew our member base 10x. So we ended the first year with 80 members. You know, for a studio that had already been open since 2012. So it had been open for 5 years already. You know, that is a big mountain to climb as well. You know, we ended with 80 members that first year. I was asked by the previous corporate ownership to speak at the Denver conference that year in 2018 to kind of talk about my experience for the year. And I said, you know what, you know, this was really cool. That was a big, you know, kind of bucket list for me, being such a big Pure Barre fan. That was like the pinnacle of life for me, until I realized that, like, hey, actually, I think I'd rather be like my friend sitting next to me who maybe didn't win any awards here at this conference, but is making money. And so, you know, Expo coming in, you know, I know it did a lot of things, you know, for a lot of people have feelings about it, but for me, it was very much, you know, kind of a deus ex machina in terms of, you know, how do I grow more? I was telling Sai before this, every month I would look and see, okay, well, this month that was 150% year over year growth. And then this month I was 175, and, you know, and had these killer numbers. I said, but how do you do that again? You know, you grew from so little. How do you continue that? Obviously, it's not going to be as huge, but how do you continue on from there? And so Expo was really what they were able to come in and help me to continue on from there. So, you know, implementing as much as we could at the time, the sales process, which I got a lot of pushback from. You know, it felt gross, it felt slimy. It wasn't what Pure Barre was before this. But I said, but, you know, people are doing it and they're seeing success. And so we need to start moving in that direction as well. So for the second year, we went from 80 to about 130 members. That was the best we had done. And then March 2020 rolls around, and we all there.
I think I know what you're about to say.
Yes. Yeah, some people are having some PTSD right now, but and actually it was Franchise Ramp that actually was the deus ex machina for me going into the third year and saying, okay, well, now what do I do? And of course, the now what do I do was way, way more drastic when we lost the entire previous year of progress. So, you know, it was coming here, becoming a client first, because, you know, I had been burned by vendors in the past, as I'm sure many, you know, franchisees have been. I've made a lot of stupid mistakes. I wasted a lot of money, not marketing and also not managing leads properly. And so I said, well, how do I, you know, continue to fix this? And so I got a lot of tough love, you know, from the team here when I did join on. You know, I knew what I was doing, but I needed to be told, you know, that I was being ineffective in a lot of ways, that I needed to be better, that I was, you know, kind of, you know, lighting money on fire by not doing the right things and following the process. So it was a lot of that from, you know, from the people I work with every day, you know, from Pete and Brian, you know, kind of helping me to become better. And they did. And, you know, I'm still continuing to get better, but we were able to, you know, over this last year, you know, with the help of everybody here at Franchise Ramp and, you know, me being able to take that into the real world, we were able to grow. We're currently at about 150 members right now. So better than we've ever done every month. Since the month of March this year, every month has been consistently our best month ever. We just continue to grow. And are we where we need to be? No. And, you know, are we ever going to be number one in Pure Barre? Like, probably not. But, you know, that's okay. And, you know, we work with what we have, and, you know, you always try to learn and push on and be better and, you know, just become the best franchisee you can be.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally think you hit the nail on the head with that last remark. But I did want to circle back around to something that you kind of breezed over and maybe disagree with you for a second also. So you gave us a couple numbers that I'd like to kind of touch back on. When you were kind of starting to get traction and gain momentum, you did increase your member base tenfold, and it averaged 150% year over year monthly growth. Tell us a little bit more about what you did to implement a new sales process, especially if you experienced some resistance in your staff.
I did it myself, to be honest with you. Leadership by example. I went in and said, we got to be calling these people. We have to be doing this. We need to follow up better. And again, met with a lot of resistance. And it was hard. But I wouldn't, after too many months of, poor results, I said, I'm not going to use, the pandemic as an excuse. I'm not going to use, franchise ramp as an excuse, because leads are only as good as how you work them. And obviously you need them and you need to get a good amount of them, but you also have to work them. And digital leads are different than, referral leads that come in through our microsites. It's just a different intent. They're at different places in the funnel. And so I had to take that and own that. The first year though, when I had those numbers, I didn't know that. And I only imagined what I could have done, with that. But at that time, I was kind of focused on some of the wrong things. I was every day, I was like, how can I make this better? What can I do better, with these numbers? And I wasn't looking at, some of the other more important numbers, like, my actual conversion rates, what my cost per acquisition was I even spending the right amount of money on it? But I wasn't even spending money on digital marketing. So, I think about what I could have done and what I see now, from other transfer owners that are stepping into similar situations as mine. And I go, man, if I'd have been armed with that knowledge then, what I could have done now. But, it's everybody's on a different path, and, you just have to be patient and keep trusting the process and following it. And, I did learn. But initially that was just so much work on my end. And it took me time to realize that I can only go so far, and that, if I need to hire somebody full-time, to step in and really do this. I need to have people, that are doing this work for me so that I can continue to strategically grow the business. And again, take myself out of that. I bought myself a job mindset to really, truly being, a business owner, franchisee, and entrepreneur.
Right, absolutely. Knowing when to delegate responsibilities and knowing that you have your own limitations and there's only one of you and there's only so much you can do.
I could use a couple more if anyone has that
I think most of us could. So now I feel like our listeners can actually really appreciate why I was so jazzed to have you agree to speak with us and share your story with us today. You told us more about the challenges you faced and not only just overcame, but in my opinion, totally smashed to turn your studio around. But what do you think your really big takeaways are for other franchisees that might be facing a similar situation? Like, if you had the chance to sit down with Jen circa 2017, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to stay far away from the year 2020, but I guess that's
so
we don't really have that. We don't have time machines and no, but no, in all seriousness, actually, I really thought I took 2020 to pivot and, adapt in a good way. And, I needed some of that. If I hadn't, been through those challenges, I wouldn't have made, I wouldn't have learned what I did, and I wouldn't have made the changes that I did that ultimately put us, in a better direction. But the first thing, I was focused on all the wrong things when I took the studio over. I spent a ton of my working capital on a facelift of the lobby, and that's important. And, it did help with some, getting some of the bad juju out of the space, but I was totally focused on the wrong things. And, had I taken the money that I used then and put it into digital marketing and hiring sales associates, things would have progressed very differently. But and I probably would have been a little less stressed. But for those who, whether you're starting from scratch and building your own thing, or you're taking over an existing location, trust and follow the process as best as you possibly can with the resources that you have at that time. And I know that looks different for everybody, and it's really easy to sit and say, oh, well, this is what they tell me to do, so I need to do it. Because again, you're going to be met, this is a living, breathing thing, that changes every day, and the world changes every day. You're going to be met with resistance and issues. And, financial issues, name it, and I've probably gone through it. But had I known sooner, just how important the sales and marketing piece was, along with just delivering, a really kick-ass experience and product, I could have progressed differently. And, so definitely following and trusting the process as much as you can in that time with what you're given, because I've had months where we don't follow the process and, things get sloppy, and, consistently over time that builds up. And, obviously you're not seeing what you need to see. And then the months that we do turn it around and we do what we need to do, it works. And so for me, that right there alone is, it tells me what I need to know about how to proceed. Definitely patience is the next one. If they tell you that things are going to take off in 2 years and you're, going to be super profitable in 2 years, it's probably going to be 3 or 4. And you just have to stay the course. And that applies to everything. It applies to just, watching your numbers. It applies to digital marketing. Like, I can't tell you how many times, over the course of the year where I took money out of my own pocket to pay for this, even though I worked here and I knew how important it was, I had to. It was kind of dire straits. And there were times where I wanted to freeze or pause or stop. And, I said, no, that's not what I'm telling people. And I can't live that for me. So I kept it going. And in the, in the long term, looking back at the data and looking back at the results, it absolutely worked. And I would hate to see anybody cut that short and, think that, digital marketing doesn't work or what, that type of mindset, because they haven't pulled all the stops out to really fix it. And so, patience with the process, patience with, things that you need to look at long term, and really just, looking at that data and making decisions from there. Because during the day-to-day, you may not see it, you may not feel it. Like, you might not feel like you're making progress. It might feel like you're swimming upstream all the time. I know that I say that a lot, but it's how I feel sometimes. But when I look at, numbers and I run reports and I look at Club Ready, like, we have made such amazing strides, in so many aspects of the business. And I don't think I would have done that had I, not implemented the right processes and not, made this digital marketing investment. So I would have probably told myself to, put that money aside for digital marketing from the beginning and use it. Those are probably my 2 biggest takeaways. And just, continue to be positive. You have to. There's too much right now in the world that'll get you down. And, I've definitely had days where I've wallowed in my city, but and have had sad days and taken the cancellation of certain clients like way too personally. But, at the end of the day, like, you just have to continue to, stay positive, stay on the path.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's actually something that, we practice and preach here at Franchise Ramp also, is to kind of try to take that emotional aspect that can be a knee-jerk reaction for a lot of us. I know I can be guilty of things like that as well, but to kind of pull that piece out of the puzzle and really be kind of driven by data and stay patient and, look for consistency, and like aggregate your data as a whole. And that's when you'll start seeing those pieces of success kind of fall into place. But despite everything you kind of encountered and faced, obviously, your franchise experience hasn't scared you away so far. It seems as though you've been bitten by the franchise bug. Can you tell everyone a little bit more about your newest endeavor?
Sure, I might be insane, but my husband and I are really excited to be bringing Rumble, the newest exponential brand, to the Austin area. We're really pumped. It actually fits really well for us. Pure Barre is kind of like my thing, having been a dancer and all that. But my husband was actually a Golden Gloves boxer, so that was our initial sort of foray into like looking into this. And just with everything that I've been able to learn, over the past 4 years, but especially this past year, has put me in a place where I'm not so terrified to do this again and again, just really trying to move out of that like Pure Barre owner, like bought myself a job, living at the studio mindset to, embracing more of a semi-absentee owner lifestyle and, starting it up the right way and, being at my businesses because I want to be, and like, I make my own schedule rather than having to be, because
right.
It's for sure. And we're still there. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we're,
Oh, I'm sure you're present, you're engaged,
Yeah, talk to me in a year and maybe the conversation.
Right.
But, and every day, again, it's a work in progress. But like the other day, I had to, sub 5 classes in one day because I had a teacher that thought she had COVID. So,
Mhm.
that type of thing is still happening, but we're moving away from that, in the right direction. And I'm so pumped. Rumble is an unbelievable brand, an incredible workout. I'm really excited to be, branching out into other territories, into other other franchises, other workouts, which is something I never thought I would do. I thought I'd just own like 20 Pure Bars, but I'm really excited about this, and excited to go through the other aspect of things that I talk to people a lot about, the pre-sale and having those challenges you talked about, like factors and permits and all.
Right.
So I'm very excited about expansion. And it's another thing that I don't think I would have gotten to, had I not been here and had I not, learned all I had from being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. But so you said your husband's was a Golden Gloves boxer. I'm just gonna make a quick note. Don't get in a fight with Jen's husband, okay?
Yes, please. Yeah,
Good to
no,
know,
he can
good to
punch
know.
really hard. Like it's serious. So like don't mess with him.
All right, noted. No, though, in all seriousness, I am really happy for you and this new journey you're about to embark on. I'm sure we can all agree that your passion and drive and desire is so evident. I'm positive that you guys are totally going to crush it. It really says a lot about you, not just as a businesswoman, but as a person, just your level of tenacity and resilience. I'm really excited to see what's in store for you and all the successes you're going to encounter. Now, with that being said, like you said, you are in the beginning stages, the infancy of your Rumble location. What have you learned? What have you gathered so far with opening a new studio from the ground up?
Ooh, very different experience. I'm learning just how important it is to again, data, patience. The same things apply, just from a little bit different of a place. And I've learned to be extremely conservative about everything. So, if they tell you, it's going to cost this much, expect it to cost more. If they tell you it's going to take 4 months to build out, expect it to take 6. Don't overpromise things to people. Don't, if they think you're going to open with, 400 members at your grand opening, expect it to be 250 or 300, and be super pleasantly surprised when things go right. So that has been the biggest takeaway for me, is just, sit back, be conservative, and just continue to, keep pushing through, and, again, trust the data and trust the process.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's always something that I've kind of worked off of as well. If you can plan for the worst, but hope for the best, then you can reach your goals much more smoothly by putting more of your energy into having a positive attitude, knowing that you've already thought about the worst case scenarios and kind of lessening the negative chatter in your head. Well, Ms. Jennifer Sweet, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story about being a top performing owner of a Pure Bar and the new owner of a Rumble, also in the Austin, Texas area.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun. If anyone knows me, they know I can talk about this for like hours. So
right. We'll schedule another Zoom for that one, and we'll just piggyback off of this one. But again, thank you for spending your time with us today. So invaluable, so unique, and really teaching a lot of us about what it's like to live, breathe, and work franchising success.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you,
and
Jennifer.
Nick, back to you.
Oh, sorry, Cy. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jennifer, for an amazing interview. I learned a lot that I did not know as well, and it was super inspiring and powerful. Please let us know in the chat if you have any questions whatsoever. And I'm just seeing one now for Brandon on his tactical tools session. It says, what is the difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook group?
Great question. So I'm going to break it down into really 2 parts. So with Facebook page, that is something that, think of it as someone was to Google your business on Facebook, let's say it's Pure Barre, a bunch of different Pure Barre pages might pop up. You can get suggested a page that you may like, and maybe a specific post that you can see. If you go through your news feed, you actually will probably see a whole bunch of suggested for use from different profiles and pages of posts that they have that Facebook think is relevant. Whereas Facebook group is going to be, it's still something you have to opt into, even if it's a public group and anyone can join. You have to opt in into seeing those posts, seeing what everyone is talking about. And then the second piece is just the effectiveness of it. So a page, like I said earlier, the numbers came out where it was about 5% of people were actually seeing your post every single day. Once you enter a Facebook group, that number increases on absurd levels, anywhere from 65 to 75%. Again, if anyone here actually is in an active group that posts regularly, you can probably go on your news feed, and I would say probably out the first 10 things you see, 2 of those would be specifically from that group. And that's just because Facebook is really pushing to get that community feel again. It's hard to refigure your algorithm after you've already entered the ad space. So they're promoting a Facebook group so that they can get back to that community, which leaves a great opportunity for business owners to be able to get more organic reach, just because the difference in effectiveness is absurd, quite honestly. But yeah, those are going to be the 2 biggest differences in terms of a Facebook page and a Facebook group.
Awesome, Brendan. Thank you so much. And we will be sending out in the follow-up email both a recording of this video and also a step-by-step guide on how to create a Facebook group. That's all the questions I'm seeing in the Q&A. I do see a awesome comment from Topher. Excellent learning from Brandon. Love the story from Jen. Great messages for franchisees. The best kind of insane. And I think that's a good way to close. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Brandon. And thank you, everybody, for attending and joining us today. We already can't wait to see you next time, next month. And we look forward to working with you to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.